Here's more wrestling news for December 15th, 2022, and we're starting off with Karl Anderson, who returned to WWE in October despite being the New Japan Never Openweight champion. In November, Anderson opted to compete at Crown Jewel instead of at New Japan's Battle Autumn, but now the OC member is heading to the Tokyo Dome. This week, Anderson made the trip overseas for New Japan's World Tag/Super Junior Tag League Finals, defeating Hikuleo, the man he was originally supposed to face at Battle Autumn. After retaining his title, Anderson cut a promo about being the greatest Never Openweight champion of all time, only to be interrupted by Tama Tonga. A brawl between the two would result in Anderson laying out Tonga and promised to defeat him next month when they'll face off again at Wrestle Kingdom. Anderson will be WWE's representative at the show, which will also include AEW's Kenny Omega and FTR, as well as talent from New Japan and Stardom, in what will truly be a historic night on January 4th. Since May, Randy Orton has been out with a serious back injury, one that's much more severe than first believed. At one time, WWE had planned on Orton competing at SummerSlam, though that didn't happen, and one name in the company isn't sure when we'll see him next wrestle. During the latest episode of Oh You Didn't Know, WWE's Senior VP of Live Events, Road Dogg Jesse James, gave his 2 cents on the Orton matter, saying, "I don't know about his injury, I haven't seen Randy and I haven't asked about Randy, I don't bring him up. For my job, I have a list of people I cannot use, and he's on that right now. I don't have him as a combatant to write into a match." James did seem optimistic later on that he believes Orton will return, though not everyone feels that way, with Kofi Kingston saying a few months back that he doesn't know if Orton is ever coming back. Ultimately, Orton's focus right now is on his back and recovery from the recent surgery, which Kurt Angle is hopeful will save the Legend Killer's career. But for now, Randy's in-ring future seems in jeopardy. For over 800 days, Roman Reigns has dominated a WWE as Universal Champion, squashing some of the biggest names to retain his title. John Cena, Edge, and Brock Lesnar are just a handful of the names who have been forced to acknowledge their tribal chief, but MVP is confident that his client, Omos, can get the job done. When appearing for an interview with Good Karma Wrestling, MVP said his big goal right now is to lead Omos to a WWE World Championship. MVP said the path to the top won't be easy as there is some amazingly talented people, but added that with Omos, he feels this win is an inevitability. So far, Omos has had just one title reign in WWE, the Raw Tag Team titles with AJ Styles, and despite a lot of hype around him, the Nigerian giant hasn't been featured anywhere close to the main event scene. With the Royal Rumble approaching, Omos' size will give him a significant advantage in the 30-man match, and if he should somehow win, then he'll get his shot at the head of the table. In February of last year, Taya Valkyrie made her WWE debut after years of proving herself in companies such as AAA and Impact. Adopting the name Frankie Monet, fans were excited to see what she'd do, but less than a year into her run, Valkyrie was released in November 2021. Opening up to Denise Salcedo this week, Valkyrie explained how while things started off well for her in WWE, she quickly began to feel like the company had no idea what to do with her. "At first I was having the best time. Nobody could tell me anything. I was just like, I'm doing it, I'm here. Everything that I did led me here. I kept telling myself I'm gonna do it. John Morrison is just like, you're the queen of manifesting, you did it, oh my god. Then it was too good to be true. As time went on, I just felt like sometimes that no one knew what to do with me or something. I don't know, it was very strange, and I kept reminding myself too, is people don't realize, is like I was there during the pandemic, okay? So nobody was having any house shows. I never got the chance to have those really good connections with my coaches, with the producers, with Triple H, with Shawn Michaels, because it just wasn't even enough time for it, and that's like my biggest regret." Since her release, Valkyrie has returned to AAA and Impact, and currently holds championship gold in both promotions. With the pandemic over and WWE performing in front of live crowds again, perhaps WWE will one day consider rehiring Valkyrie and give Frankie Monet one more shot at making it in NXT. Before joining AEW at September's Grand Slam Dynamite, Saraya spent over a decade of her life in WWE, becoming the first NXT Women's Champion and 2-time Divas Champion. Saraya was in WWE when AEW began, and despite the hostility between the two promotions, that wasn't shared by the WWE locker room. Sitting down with Forbes, Saraya said that the WWE superstars never trash-talk AEW, but were instead just happy that there was another place for wrestlers to go. Saraya added when WWE began releasing talent in droves, she was devastated, saying it was like somebody in the wrestling family had died. For years, WWE was seen as the only promotion in the US where a wrestler could make decent money, but thanks to AEW, that is no longer the case. While WWE and AEW have only had the briefest of partnerships, such as allowing AEW talent on Raw for John Cena's 20th anniversary event, the two sides are yet to do anything bigger than that, though it's good that there's no ill will for AEW from WWE's roster. From one ex-WWE name to another, as during his Ring of Honor World Championship run, Chris Jericho defended against many former champions of ROH, but his match with Bandito was arguably the best. After the match, it was reported that both WWE and AEW had interest in signing Bandito, but Tony Khan's interest in him was slightly affected by Y2J. That's according to Jericho himself, who said during Talk is Jericho that he asked Tony Khan to sign Bandito immediately after their match, saying it was a boy where everything was going too well. Taking Jericho's suggestions on board, Khan did make an offer to Bandito not long after the match, but so did WWE, who were reportedly trying to get his phone number before the Jericho match was even over. After being such a hot commodity, Bandito signed with AEW, a decision that made Jericho very happy, and his future looks bright for the masked wrestler now that he's all elite. Bandito is just one of several stars to sign with AEW this year, but Tony Khan is always on the hunt for new talent to bring up. In January 2023, Kota Ibushi's contract with New Japan will expire, and the former IWGP World Heavyweight Champion has a long list of suitors that want him, including AEW. Conversing with a Twitter user, Ibushi confirmed that AEW has made him an offer, which he called really big, but his personal goals may mean he doesn't sign. Ibushi expressed that he would like to have his own promotion in the future, as he'd like to give back to professional wrestling, but also has non-wrestling plans lined up. The Japanese star said he'd love to do a lot of volunteering, including visiting nursing homes, something that would no doubt be difficult to do if he were locked into an AEW deal. Whatever Ibushi does after January, the former IWGP World Heavyweight Champion will be in high demand, but for now, we'll have to wait and see what he does next. During the Attitude Era, it's hard to overstate just how popular Sable was, as she was arguably as big a star at the time as Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock. Sable's tenure with the company ended in controversy in 1999, and after filing a $1 million sexual harassment lawsuit at the company, many thought that was the last they'd seen of the Playboy star. That's why fans were so shocked to see Sable return in 2003, but perhaps no one was more shocked than her husband at the time, Mark Mero. Speaking to Wrestling News, Mero recalled Sable asking him about her returning to WWE, and Mero said it would absolutely not happen. Mero even said that after the bad blood between the parties, Vince would never take her call, only to be told by Sable that she'd already called and the two sides were in negotiation. Not only did Sable return, but her character was the sexually charged mistress of Vince McMahon, and given what we know now, we can say this is pretty par for the course for the former CEO. Now in June, Jeff Hardy was pulled over for his erratic driving, and after blowing well over the legal limit, was arrested and charged with his third DUI in a decade. Hardy pled not guilty to the DUI and other charges against him, and the charismatic enigma will soon have his day in court. PW Insider reports that Hardy's pre-trial hearing will take place next Wednesday, December 21st at 8:30 a.m. in Florida, and that he must attend in person. Under Florida law, Hardy is facing a max 5 years in prison if convicted of his third DUI in a decade, and will keep following his case for further updates. Since All Out, CM Punk has kept relatively quiet as rumors continue to circulate about his wrestling future. Punk has yet to appear on AEW TV and, in many people's opinions, won't ever appear on the show again, but he did have an interaction with a pair of WWE superstars this week. During the Instagram live stories of Bayley and Sasha Banks, Punk checked in on the two, saying that the two are cool and that he was just sending his love before going to eat breakfast. In the chat, Punk also joked that he didn't realize there was going to be drinking, a nod to Bayley and Banks sipping whiskey and mezcal, but he didn't join their stream despite the Boss and Hug Connection's best efforts. This wasn't even the only example of a WWE-AEW crossover on the stream, as Bayley also expressed her support for Ricky Starks despite the two working in different companies. With rumors of Punk possibly joining WWE and Banks possibly leaving WWE, fans may never get to see the two on screen together, but the two-time former AEW World Champion added some excitement to this Instagram Live. And we're ending today with Ric Flair, who has been in the wrestling business for 50 years and has made a lot of enemies in that time. It's no secret that Flair has issues with several veterans of wrestling, and that includes Jim Ross. On his To Be the Man podcast, Flair said that Ross lost every bit of credibility when he chose to appear on Vice's Dark Side of the Ring. Flair was furious about a comment that Ross made during one episode where he said that sometimes people and companies need to know when to walk away from Ric Flair. The Nature Boy said that it very deeply hurt him, but that Ross only went on the show because he's leaning on life to be relevant, but said the AEW commentator simply isn't a relevant person these days. Flair also noted that WWE has learned how to walk away from Jim Ross, as while he'll be at Raw's 30th anniversary, it's doubtful that JR will be anywhere near the show. In WWE, JR called some of Flair's biggest matches, including the emotional farewell match at WrestleMania 34 against Shawn Michaels, but these days, the Nature Boy has plenty of bad blood for the Oklahoma native. That's our news for today, guys. Please watch our previous video, 15 WWE wrestlers who passed away in 2022.